Welcome to today's Millionaire Broker Owner webinar with your host, Craig Proctor.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Hey, I want to welcome, we got several hundred broker owners with us here today, or those that want to be broker owners. We're going to be talking about how to do the thing that you really want to do, which is to create this real estate brokerage, which is a real business, which provides you the kind of income that you really want to make and provides you the freedom. That's what a real business does. 90% of the broker owners that I've ever met do not have that. Many of them are not making the kind of money that they felt that they were going to make when they started this. Many of them are still selling real estate. For those that aren't selling real estate, they devote their life to this business. And let's face it, a business is something that's supposed to make your life better. I mean, that's the reason you have a business versus having a job. Now, here's the thing that kind of blows me away is there isn't very good training on how to create a successful brokerage. Now, we would think that many of you are with franchises, they're going to provide this roadmap for us. But I'm going to share with you my experience here today, and I'm going to introduce you to a couple of very, very successful broker owners. These are guys that are making millions of dollars doing what they teach you to do. So you're going to learn a lot here. I'd recommend that you grab a pen. This is a live webinar, by the way, so we'll take your questions. My lovely operator, Andrew, will monitor the chat box, and you can type in your questions. We'll take those as we progress through the webinar. Now, my name is Craig Proctor. Many of you know me or you know of me. I was a successful real estate agent myself. I've been in this industry now for almost 30 years. I was the top agent for RE/MAX in the world for commissions earned. I did that several times. I was in the top 10 for RE/MAX in the world for commissions for over 15 years straight. I'd sell, 500 to 600 houses a year. I was one of the first guys to have a team. I basically had a brokerage within a brokerage. Okay, so ironically, I made more money than my broker did. My broker kept getting broker and broker. But I have been training real estate agents now since 1995. Over 30,000 real estate agents have come through my program, and recently I've decided to step in and help broker owners do a better job because I thought the training for real estate agents was lacking. But the training for broker owners is even worse. I've met with many franchises and regions and brokers over the years, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot by talking to people. I remember a year or so ago, I was at the office of a large franchise, and they were telling me about how they wanted to recruit, 5,000, 10,000 more agents. And I asked them, okay, well, how are you going to do that? Well, they didn't really have a plan. They said, it's our broker owners' responsibility to recruit the agents. I said, okay, well, are they very good at it? No, they said they're not very good at it. So that's not really a plan. That's kind of like a wish, right? Like hope is not a plan. So we're going to talk to you about how the top broker owners in the country are actually doing this. It makes sense, right, to learn from people that are actually making a lot of money with their brokerage. These are the people we should be looking up to, not what is usually the case. We're learning from people that have failed. We're learning from people that have never actually made millions of dollars selling real estate and having their own brokerage. So I'm going to introduce these gentlemen here shortly. You're going to learn a lot. What we're going to do today is we're going to demonstrate. We're going to show you what needs to be done. That's what we're going to do. We're going to show you what needs to be done. So again, get your pen and your pad of paper ready. But let's agree on a couple of facts. Okay, nobody can dispute the fact number one, which is to be a successful broker owner, you have to have an outstanding answer to this most important question, which is why should a real estate agent choose your real estate brokerage over any other real estate brokerage or even start their own real estate brokerage? Well, when I ask most broker owners that question, they'll, say all the usual stuff. We have a great place to work, and, we've got great company culture, and you're really going to like the people here. But look, everybody says the same old thing, or they say nothing at all. So we're going to talk to you today about what you should be saying to real estate agents that you want to recruit. Let me repeat this again. You have to have an extraordinary answer to this most important question. Why should a real estate agent in your marketplace choose to join your real estate brokerage over any other real estate brokerage in town, or just start their own? And this is what broker owners say to me. If I could just get more of the right kind of agents. Some of you are really good at getting the wrong kind of agents. Some of you, well, you're not really doing a great job of recruiting anybody. But that's what it comes down to. Let's be honest. If you want to have a successful brokerage, you want to be financially successful, then you need a really good system. I'm going to use the word system here to recruit the right kind of agents on a regular basis. Okay? Everyone write this down. ABR. 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 Always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. If we look at professional sports, the top teams, the Denver Broncos, do you think they're going to stop looking for the best players? They're always going to be recruiting. The Kansas City Royals won the World Series. They're always going to be recruiting. That's what top teams do. This is what top brokerages do. ABR, always be recruiting. But to keep doing more of what many of you are doing would just be adding to your frustration, because most broker owners do not have a successful recruiting system. And then let me repeat this again. Most broker owners, they don't really have a business. Okay, the business works so you don't have to. If you were to spend a couple $1 million and buy a McDonald's franchise, you're not buying that to go in and flip burgers and make French fries. You're buying the McDonald's franchise so it's an entity separate from yourself that provides you a great income. This is how your real estate brokerage could, if you choose, work for you. It works so you don't have to. But many of you are a slave to this thing you call a business. It owns you. You don't own it. And some of you are actually still out selling real estate, not because you want to, but because you have to subsidize this real estate brokerage that really isn't working on its own. So let's talk about what to do. To have a real estate business, I'm going to keep repeating this, you need a solid, predictable way of recruiting lots of great agents. Not anybody, but the right kind of agents. ABR, always be recruiting. That was my success when I introduced these gentlemen onto our webinar here today. That's what they live by. ABR, always be recruiting. How do we recruit the agents? Well, we've got to give real estate agents what they want, the things that they want more than anything else. Like I said, I've trained over 30,000 agents. And the two things that real estate agents want more than anything else is they want leads and they want training. We're going to show you, the broker owners, how to provide the real estate agents what they want, how to provide them the leads and how to provide them the training. If you do this, they will come in droves and they will not leave you. There's a lot of confusion in our industry. I talk to real estate agents about lead generation. And I ask real estate agents, well, what is it that buyers want? What's the one thing that buyers want more than anything else? Sometimes there's confusion. The number one thing that a buyer wants more than anything else is houses. The number one thing that a seller wants more than anything else is buyers. So we know this, right? We can agree on that. What's the number one thing that real estate agents want? They want leads and they want training. So we get confused. We talk about all kinds of other things, but we fail to focus on what it is that real estate agents really want. So we're going to discuss this system today It's an agent recruiting and retention system. We're going to talk about the system to recruit the agents. You'll see we're doing very specific things. I guarantee you're not doing these things. And if you're doing them, you're not doing them as well as what we're about to describe. We're going to talk about the onboarding process. Hell, it's no use recruiting agents if you don't onboard them. You've got to have proper onboarding or they're destined to fail. And then the training. Well, onboarding is a form of training, but this training, how often? Forever. It's continuous. If you want to retain them. You see, many broker owners, they're kind of like a goose, right? The agents come in one door and they leave the other door, and you don't build any critical mass. So that's not success. That just sounds like a lot of work for nothing. So we're going to reveal the system here today, the system for recruiting, onboarding the agents, training the agents, and retaining the agents. So you grow critical mass. You will be amazed at what your brokerage can look like 1 year from today. We're going to leverage off of marketing, and we're going to leverage off of technology. The other benefit of hanging out with me and the two gentlemen that I'm about to introduce to you is the networking. The people you're going to be introduced to when you hang out with us. You see, networking is very important. Meeting with successful millionaire brokers who are already doing the thing that you want to do, that's how you're going to learn. I know at our conferences, some of the best learning happens at breaks, it happens at lunch. Heck, it even happens at the bar at the end of each day. So when you hang out with us, you're going to be introduced to the very top broker owners in the country. Now, the first guy I want to introduce you to is a good friend of mine. He's in Scottsdale, Arizona. His name is Jay Macklin. And I've got a lot of nice things here to say about Jay because he's a modest guy. He wouldn't say these things about himself. But Jay hasn't been in real estate for that long. He'll tell you a story here in a minute. But he's joined my program as a real estate agent. He's only been a real estate broker for, 3 or 4 years. But it's amazing what he's been able to do. He's with RE/MAX. He's a RE/MAX broker owner. He already has 3 offices. He's got a 4th one opening soon. It says 120 agents. I think he's probably up to 140, 150 now. And this is all in 3 or 4 years. Now, how many of you that are with us on the webinar today think, well, gee, that's not fair? You know, I've been a broker owner for a lot longer than Jay. And I don't have 4 offices open. I don't have 150 agents working for me. So we're going to show you how, and Jay's going to explain in his own words, how we did this. He works with his wife, Michelle. Jay, by the way, is from Michigan. Okay, he's not a native of Arizona. So he moved there, didn't know anybody. What do? You get into real estate. But he's done very well. He's going to explain exactly what he's done here in a minute to get massive growth. So Jay, I want to welcome you to our webinar.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it, Craig. Thanks for having me.
We'll come back to you just in a minute, Jay. I want to welcome our second important party to our webinar. Todd Walters is from Atlanta, Georgia. He's been with my program now since the early 1990s as a real estate agent. As you can see here in the write-up, Todd Walters was also one of the top RE/MAX agents in the country for commissions earned. He sold over 5,000 homes in his career. He owns now his own real estate brokerage called Optimus Real Estate in Atlanta, Georgia. It is one of the fastest, if not the fastest, growing real estate brokerages in the state of Georgia. And Todd is also a coach for our Platinum program. Our Platinum, our Titanium members generally make $2 to $3 million in commissions or more. And Todd heads that group. So, Todd, I'd like to welcome you also to today's webinar.
Greg, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me on today.
Todd, why don't we start with you before we go back to Jay and talk a little bit about why you got out of real estate. You retired at a young age 39, and why the heck you got back into it. But how, when you decided to get back into real estate, decided I'm not going to go back as an agent, and I'm not going to go back as a traditional broker. You had a different mindset. Talk to us a little bit about what it was that you wanted to accomplish and how you're pulling it off.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Let me hit it from a couple of different angles here. See, when we're coaching and training real estate agents on growing their business, we're straight up with them. We said, look, one of the reasons that agents struggle with growing their real estate business is because they have a real estate agent license. So they get wrapped up in being a real estate agent every day, and they never really they struggle breaking beyond just that. In other words, they perform the technician part of the jobs. It's the same thing with real estate brokers. Most real estate brokers are real estate agents who, got the big idea that they wanted to have their own real estate company or brokerage. So they go out and get their broker's license, and then they go back and start their real estate company, and they become the broker. Well, every successful real estate business needs at the helm the entrepreneur, the rainmaker, the guy that brings in the business. So when you're wrapped up in the day-to-day operations of, quote, management or being the broker, then you're obviously taking time away from working on the business. And this is a universal business truth principle that I learned from you a long time ago, that if all you ever really do is work in the business all the time, you never really gain a perspective of how to make it better. So one of the things that we're successful at doing with real estate brokers, Craig, is getting them to take a step back and look at their business from a different lens, and that is of the rainmaker. It's the broker owner's job, for example, to make it rain. So when I opened up this real estate company here, I made it a point like, look, I'm not going to reactivate my real estate license. That's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to be involved in any of those transactions or even talking about them. I wonder what would happen if I could spend the hours that I can spend just working on the business. So I'm forced by design not to work on any real estate transaction at all. So it's all from a perspective of growth and marketing and getting business and leveraging the business that we get to get more. And when I mean business, I'm talking about every piece of it. Get an agent. How can we leverage this new agent to get more agents? If we get a listing, how can that listing be leveraged to get more agents? So this is what happens when you're not involved in the business every day. Now, I'm not prescribing that, people watching the webinar, they give up their broker's license or not be the quote broker. I'm not saying anything of the such, but you asked me a specific question, and that's a very specific answer. It's because I'm not in the real estate business every day, just spend my time working on it.
Okay, let's go back to Jay here for a second. And I think what we should do, guys, is let's just talk about what needs to be done. You guys can kind of ping and pong on this. Now, Jay, you work with your wife, Michelle, correct?
I do. Yep, I do.
How do you divide that up? What is it that you're doing? What is it that your wife's doing?
That's a good question. So that was a bit of a concern for me because she was in real estate before I was. And so when I got into it, I thought, well, I've never worked with my wife before, but this will be interesting. So, not only physically, but job description, she takes a left, I take a right. So she handles a lot of the back end operations end of the company. So she does a lot of the accounts payable, accounts receivable. She handles a lot of the admin. She handles that end of it. And I do all the revenue stuff. So I'm the one out there doing the recruiting, the marketing, the development, the retention, all the stuff that is dollar cost productive of things that I should be doing. So it just worked out perfect for us. I mean, that's her strength. This is my strength, and it just worked out great. Okay.
Let's get right into it then. Again, I'm going to encourage everyone to grab a pen and write down some of these great ideas. They're not ideas. An idea is something that you think might work. These are proven strategies. So, Jay, when you started your brokerage, it's probably safe to say you didn't know your elbow from you know what, and the tragic mistake we all make is we look around at what all the other broker owners do. So you struggled, right? You had to figure this out. What did you learn very quickly? Because you did learn something very quickly when you opened your brokerage.
Yeah, I learned that what I learned is that I was simply just like an agent at that point. I was a commodity. And I didn't want to be a landlord. I didn't want to be the guy who just agents came to and hung their license, because there was no leverage in it for me to keep the agents. And it just became a revolving door. So yeah, I realized there was a huge vacuum out there when it came to what is it that brokers offer, and why would an agent come to my office versus going to the 15 down the street. And, in Arizona, we got a lot of, like any state, I think there's a lot of brokerages out there. So, I took the step of it, obviously being in your program, I looked at it like an agent would. Like, why would a seller choose me over and above anybody else? And so I did that. I did a little mystery shopping, and I kind of went around and kind of found that there were a lot of holes in a lot of these brokerages offers. Like, what they offered was not proprietary. It was not compelling. And it wouldn't either make me go there or stay there. Most importantly, stay there. And so I realized that from really doing some research and understanding what it is agents want, as we talked about, it wasn't necessarily that hard for me to develop and to build. That's why the growth has been so big in the last 3 years, is that I offer things that no other brokerage offers.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Sure.
Show us the contrast. The typical broker owner anywhere in the country, what kind of stuff would they offer real estate agents? Like, what is it that broker owners kind of think works, and the typical offers they would make to attract agents, and talk about why that doesn't work, and then what you do that's different.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Like you said, a lot of it comes down to, they grasp at straws to try to fight for agents between offices. And so, culture, we have the best tasting coffee. It's, it gets down to really what it boils down to. They don't have anything to offer, and it's so lukewarm and mediocre that they end up having to worry about money. And when you start recruiting on money, you lose, because you end up A, getting the wrong agents, and then B, you end up having a large sieve and a revolving door, which will drive a brokerage, under, because there's so much resources being held. But like you said before, there's really no offer. They talk about their culture, and they talk about their meetings, and they talk about, the training and the leads, but none of it really is effective. And as we go forward, really, there's a lot of different programs out there, and there's 1,000 new shiny objects every day. And so a lot of brokers are trying to incorporate enterprise level systems to give to agents, but they have no clue on how to develop them and how to use them. And that's
okay. Well, look, I think you're being very politically correct here. If I'm reading between the lines, what you're saying is, because most brokers really don't have anything meaningful to offer, all they're doing is cutting their fees.
Right.
Okay, so come over here. We've got the lowest desk fee. We're going to give you the biggest split. It's the same as a real estate agent that really doesn't have the ability to articulate their benefits or differentiate themselves. A realtor like that would be a commission cutter, right? If you were selling your house, Jay, you should list with me because I'm the same as everyone else, but I'll just do it for less. So that's why most real estate brokers aren't very profitable. They've got to cut their fees, their compensation so low to get somebody. It's just not a very productive business. Now, Todd, is there anything that you want to add to this? Same thing in Atlanta, right? In Georgia, most broker owners, what are they saying? How are they? What kind of offers are they making to recruit agents?
Well, first of all, it's mostly just based on personality and word of mouth. And because I really believe that they may understand what it is agents want, but they don't offer it. And if they do offer it, they don't do a really good job of telling the story. So there's lots of leaks in their marketing boat, so to speak. So let's identify that first, Craig. Like, if I want agents to come to my real estate brokerage, I must have what agents want. So what is it that agents want more than anything else? And over the years of doing this, it's we all want the same thing. We want business. We want leads. We want appointments. So if a real estate company is not getting agents what they want, it's likely that they're not going to get them. So we probably should identify that a little bit more. So Jay, I know that you've got systems in place that deliver the very thing that agents want to them. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I mean, leads are leads, but they want systems and programs to not only help them develop their own, but they want appointments. They want extra business. They want business that they wouldn't get otherwise from going to your brokerage. And so, I mean, there's tons of different systems, but as we talk about, there's 2 or 3 really good programs that we use to drive more traffic and give them more leads and appointments.
All right. So
let's do this. Why don't I throw the webinar over? I don't care which guy I throw it, whether Todd or Jay, who wants it first, and you guys can actually show us what you're doing. So we've talked about what most brokers do, which is not much. I'll cut my fee. Come and work with me, and I'll give you a better desk fee, or I'll give you a bigger split than anybody else. Show us exactly how the offer you're making and how you're fulfilling this, so our viewers here today can get a feel of what their brokerage could look like.
All right. So I flipped it over to my screen. I've got a few PowerPoint slides here, Craig. And so what I talked about was the very thing that agents want. When we survey them, it's like, well, we want business. Okay, well, I've got more business than you can skillfully handle. So I put together a few PowerPoint slides from just one of the marketing systems that we use to generate a bunch of leads that we work jointly with the agents on in getting these leads converted to clients. Okay. So for example, I just sit down with the agents in a room, and we'll talk about these group recruiting seminars that we do here momentarily. But when they're in front of it, the first thing we do is start out with, like, you want business? We got plenty of that. This platform with 10,000 leads, this platform with 9,000 leads in it, this platform with 18,000 leads sitting in there. We just run through these things and say, look, we got over 60,000 buyer and seller prospects that we're sitting on right now. Like right now. And that's why we're talking to you, because we don't have enough agents to skillfully handle the business. So once that's out of the way, then it's a matter of showing the agents, how it works. Here's how we help you, and here's how you get the leads, and we'll go about growing your real estate business. But the very thing that agents want, brokers have to have or make available for agents to get. And it's difficult for real estate companies here in Metro Atlanta to compete with me, when we have this kind of business for agents, the very thing that they want. So it's a matter of demonstration. All right, Jay, I'm going to flip it over to you, because you're doing a pretty good job of getting real estate agents to look at your marketing for the very things that they want, these leads and these tools and these training. So let's look at a few of those marketing examples. If that's okay, I'm going to flip it over to you. I think you've got a few of those.
Absolutely. So, like you were saying, the recruiting webinars, the recruiting meetings, actually workshops. I'll show you a couple of these here. You want to see those right now?
Yeah, let's look at those.
Yeah. So a couple different ways. Actually,
before you get going here, does everyone understand what Jay and Todd are talking about? They're not interviewing agents one at a time. Okay, they're effectively doing these group meetings that provide great information. Okay, nobody feels like they have to have a shower after these meetings. These are really great informational meetings that you're promoting. We'll talk about how you promote them. But typically, Jay, how many realtors would come out to one of your meetings?
I'll get usually 80 to 85 sign up, and I'll get about 60 to 65 show up.
Okay, and of the 65 that show up, and these meetings are what, an hour or two long?
These are actually 3 hours. These are
3 hours. Okay.
3 hour segments. Yep.
So at the end of 3 hours, you obviously talk about joining your brokerage. So if you had 60 agents in the room, how many would be interested?
Well, what's interesting about this, the answer really is close to about 5 or 6. But what I do a little differently is that I market this as more of a marketing workshop. So it's kind of incognito, right? It's not like it's a hard push. Because if I really, really, truly pushed it hard as a recruiting meeting, I'd probably get less that show up. So I probably get more people that show up that are more interested because it's not a hard recruiting push and it's more of a marketing seminar or marketing workshop. But yeah, out of 65, I'll get 5 of them that will sign up. And out of the balance, I'll probably get 2 or 3 that come on in about 2 or 3 months. So there's about a good 5 to 8 that will actually show significant interest. And then I obviously don't choose them all, right? I can pick and choose who I want.
Okay, so are the realtors a little bit skeptical about why you're providing this valuable training seminar on how to market properly and how to make more money?
Yeah, a little bit, and that's why I did it more of a marketing workshop as opposed to recruiting, because the recruiting certainly is more dialed in, and the people there understand what they're there for. But yeah, so when I get people there, they do ask me that. They're like, "So why are you doing this?" And I'm pretty honest. I'm like, John, I've seen your marketing and it sucks, and I'm just trying to help you because what you're putting out there is not helping you in any way. So I do it and letting them know that, hey, look, I've been with the number one, real estate trainer in the world for 7 years now, 8 years. And I feel like I feel compelled to share this information that I've learned because I see a lot of agents spending a lot of money on stuff that just doesn't work. And I see a lot of agents come and go, and I want to provide just another extra nugget that you wouldn't get anywhere else, number one, and you can take away from this meeting. You don't have to join my brokerage necessarily. But what happens is they get so much information. They are like, wow, if I was actually at his brokerage, I could see him every day and he could help me really grow this. And that's the hook.
Okay, Todd, now I know you're doing the exact same thing in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. Tell us how you're attracting realtors to your training meetings, and how many typically attend. Are the numbers similar to Jay's numbers?
Yep, very similar. Here's how it works. It basically breaks down into a few methods. Okay, number one on the list is I have a couple of callers. These are what we call inside salespeople, and I hand them a qualified list. Okay, so let's talk about that. Our real estate company is not for everyone. Okay, it's for a very specific kind of agent. And I wager to say that just about everybody watching today's webinar probably the same way. That if you try to be all things to all real estate agents, you probably won't have an effective real estate business. So we go after a very specific kind of real estate agent. So we do some research using a special program called Reality to formulate this list. And then I hand the list to a couple of people that I've trained to call the agents.
Are you able to show us that program on the webinar today?
I'll work on pulling that up here while I'm talking at the same time. Dude, you're asking me to talk and chew gum.
Okay, well, why don't we do this? Well, you're playing that because I think everyone would be interested in knowing what kind of software program that they can use to interface with their MLS, so they could look at the agent's production and they could decide the who is important. We're not just looking at recruiting anybody. We want to target a specific type of agent. That's for sure. Jay, I know you're highly selective, right? You know exactly who you're after and who you're not interested in.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's exactly what makes the growth so good is that I know that the people that I'm getting are the ones that really need what I have to offer. And so it's just a good fit and it's just a much better retention. And that's really what this is about too. This isn't necessarily always about recruiting. And yes, you always have to be recruiting, but it's always recruiting the right agents that fit with what it is you have and need what you want and need what you offer. And
hey, while we're waiting for Todd, can you grab the screen and show some of the different methods that Todd's back on here. But Jay, I do want to go back to you in a minute. Now, I want to look at how you're using social media as a method of recruiting. You're very good at that. Email, You're using video email. I mean, you're really doing it all. Direct mail. You guys have done a great job of communicating with. Once you decide who it is that you're after, it's very effective what you do. So I'd like everyone to see that. But Todd, it looks like you've got the reality program pulled up. So show us how this works.
All right. Well, so before I get in here and we start poking around on it, let's just talk briefly about what in the world, this is, because I don't know how brokers and owners can recruit real estate agents without knowing who real estate agents are. So this program here, Reality, that Jay uses, I use, and the other broker owners in our broker owner coaching program, as well as at the conferences that we put on for broker owners, Craig. We have the owners of this program here that you're looking at. They come, and we spend the initial part of our broker and owner conference walking the brokers and owners and recruiters through exactly how to find the kind of agents that you want to recruit, okay? And who's most likely to even be interested in your offer for your brokerage. It's very important for everybody to recognize that. So this program here, Reality, is just one of them, and it will do pretty much whatever we want it to do. So, for example, I can find out all of the agents in town that sell between 20 transactions a year and 100 transactions a year. If I think that I'm unlikely to get agents that are selling over 50 transactions a year to look in my direction, then maybe I need to scale that down to agents that are between 15 and 50 transactions. So those are things that really the broker owners need to figure out first. That's just why we spend a lot of time on this subject, using these kinds of programs at the conferences that we put on. It's very important. I think that most broker owners believe they can just go out and buy a big box franchise brand or start their own independent road. It's kind of like if you build it, they will come. And we want to invite you to the Craig Proctor System Millionaire Broker Owner Super Conference, April 21st through 23rd.
Jay, let's have you take over the webinar, and I'd like you to show some of the methods that you're using to market to the agents.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, so like you said, social media is a phenomenal place, because not only can you do it from a broad perspective, you can do it from a very concentrated audience. So you can either upload your own list of people. So as Todd was saying, IMS's Reality is really good to be able to download the list of people, agents that you want, and then you can upload those into Facebook as a targeted audience. So only people that you want are going to see your ads, and so your marketing is way more effective. And so here's a couple things that I've really done a good job with. I've gotten really good response with when it comes to social media marketing. And it's really about trying to find the trigger points of what is it that agents want. Like Todd was talking about, like you're talking about. Find out exactly what it is that piques their interest and piques their curiosity to get them to connect. So these, of course, go to a landing page. This one's called sustainablerealestatebusiness.com. And basically this is, the agents will share their secret tips on how to build a sustainable business. And here's another one about the 10 reasons why agents join us. And that goes to our recruiting website landing page. Here's one I just started. And this is actually a really good one. This is my unique selling proposition. I do offer a performance guarantee, and I'm sure you're going to talk about this in a second. But my performance guarantee and my offer is that if agents will come to my brokerage, I will guarantee that they make $25,000 more in the next 12 months with my marketing system and my brokerage than they did in the last 12 months at their current brokerage, or I'll pay them the difference. So that is a really good key performance guarantee. And I do get a lot of eyebrows raised about, like, how does he do that? Like, what?
Right. It's an amazing offer, and yeah. I can imagine many of the broker owners with this today thinking, okay, that's an amazing offer, but how do you pull that off? Right. Jay must have deep pockets. He must be. Truth is, is that you actually can honor the guarantee because you have such a great system to help all of your agents become successful and far surpass the $25,000 in additional income easily by working for your brokerage. Let's talk about this. You're using social media.
Yeah.
You're using you email. You're big on video emails. Maybe you've got some examples of those.
Yeah, love video email. Video email is, I was telling somebody this yesterday. I was saying, the one option for me is to get as many people as I can to my workshop, right? This is the workshop, one of the flyers we send out. We do a lot of marketing on getting agents to that workshop. So getting face to face with somebody obviously is number one. Number two is on the phone. Number three, the only other way I can do that is really by getting in front of them. And the only way I can do that is by video. So if I can consistently blast out my unique value proposition that I'm articulating to these people, then it makes sense to me, to them, to build that relationship. I can't tell how many times I actually meet with agents, and they'll sit in my office on a recruiting meeting, and they're like, I feel like I know you. I've watched every single one of your videos, and I kind of feel like I understand. What's interesting, Craig, is that they don't ever bring up, they connect through the $25,000 guarantee, but once they see all the marketing stuff and all the things we do, they're kind of like, well, yeah, no wonder he can offer this. Look what he's given us. So it's not even, it's more of an eyebrow raiser, but once you offer them, stuff that helps them grow their business, and there are conditions, right? There are always conditions that apply to those kind of guarantees, but they're really simple and they're very easy. So that really gets them in here. And then once they see all the systems and all the things that we do, it's pretty much a no-brainer. But video email and video, for me, has been a tremendous way to get what we've built because of your system out to the masses. And so even agents that didn't think that they would even consider making a change were considering it because it's so unique in the marketplace. There's nothing else out there that's offering systems and programs and leads and appointments. It's not just leads, it's appointments and extra business. And so I don't ever have to recruit or sell on money because I got to tell you something. I am not cheap. Like, to come to my brokerage when it comes to money, it's not a cost saving endeavor. To come here, you're not going to save money. You're going to make money. And so by doing this, it's a great way to get your message across.
Yeah, I like that. So you're not focusing on how low the fees are at your brokerage. Instead, you're focusing on how much more money the agent's going to make by being part of your brokerage.
Yeah, absolutely. It's no different than me going in when I was selling to a listing presentation and saying, they're saying, yeah, the guy down the street's going to do it for X percent, which is, 1.5% less than yours. And I'm like, yeah, because he has no value. He doesn't bring anything. Like, there's nothing that gives me any value.
Right. You've got to convince the seller that you're going to net more money with me, even though the fee might be higher.
Absolutely.
And, isn't that what the seller is really interested in, is who's going to net him the most amount of money in his pocket after the fee. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do for the rest of the webinar. I want to bring Todd back in here as well. Todd, are you still with us?
Yeah, man.
Okay, we lost you for a minute. Okay, so here's the game plan for the rest of the webinar. We're going to continue on with this conversation about how we get the agents to these group meetings. We're going to blow away the realtors with basically demonstrating them things that they don't have that they would get by joining your brokerage. The whole presentation, of course, is focused on the very things that real estate agents really want, not what we think they want, not what the other brokers in town are offering them, but what they really, really want. So we're going to drill down on that. And then once you get them to the meeting and you have 6 or 8 or 10 that want to join you, and that's pretty cool that you can do that over and over again every month. But the onboarding process, we're going to talk about why it's really important that specific things happen when they join your brokerage, or they're probably going to fail. And I know many of you have had that experience before. You work really hard to recruit somebody, and they last 3 months, 6 months, a year or so, and they're gone. And then what do we have to do on a regular basis as far as training to keep them? Now, everything that we're talking about today, like we're talking about the what needs to be done on the webinar, but if you want to know how to do it all, we put together a very specific training program, and we are doing a seminar, the 3 of us, Okay, Jay Macklin, Todd Walters, myself, Craig Proctor. And the landing page, if one of you guys can pull it up, is millionairebrokersystem.com. This is where people can register. It's millionairebrokersystem.com. And
April 21st through 23rd, with an extra bonus day on the 24th.
There's our website. So if by the time we're done here, if this seems of interest to you, the reason this is, we feel it's really important for broker owners to be at this. Jay, of course, has lots of connections through RE/MAX. He's a RE/MAX guy. Todd and I were both with RE/MAX. There'll be a lot of RE/MAX guys. But Todd is now an independent broker. Of course, I work for many different franchises. So you're going to meet people from, that own big offices, small offices, independents with franchises. You're going to meet them there. With three guys that have made millions and millions and millions of dollars doing exactly what they're teaching you. So I think that's kind of important, having a coach is important, but having a coach that's actually successfully done the things that you want to do is very important. So who the coach is really matters. So let's talk a little bit about this meeting, Todd. What is it that broker owners are going to walk out the door with by the time they're done the training with us?
Okay, so
April 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and bonus day on the 24th.
The first thing is what they're going to get. So I want everybody to be aware. We've seen a lot of ads here from Jay, for example, on recruiting, how to get agents. Okay, how to get them to pay attention to your message, your real estate company, what your unique selling proposition is, and carrying that message to the agents in your marketplace. So what we would like to do is we'd like to show and give everyone who comes to this conference, Craig, we want to give them all of that. So, but you know how this works. It's one thing to give people the ads, but we got to walk you through the whole marketing system. So we spend the first part of the first day really dealing with that aspect of it. Okay, first of all, who should we be targeting? Who are the agents that most fit with your real estate company? And why should they choose your real estate company over any other real estate company, including just staying where they are, or maybe even opening up their own? So we've got to be able to answer that question with a unique selling proposition and carve that message out. So that makes up the first part of the first day. Then we get right into recruiting. In other words, taking that message now to the prospects that we've identified on a consistent basis with, and Jay's done a pretty good job of laying out some of those, whether it's people calling your list, Facebook and social media, and direct mail. We're really big on direct mail, and email marketing as well. So all of those things plus others, taking your message, putting it into those marketing box, and delivering it to the agents and your prospect list consistently on a regular basis to drive the traffic back to you, but not driving the traffic back to you to run out and join your real estate company. That's a bridge too far. It's to get them to get information on your company via a free report or come to your educational seminar. And you've heard Jay talk about that. So that makes up just the first day. It takes a good 8 or 9 hours, 10 hours practically to run through just that, Craig, on the first day. And then we get into the second day, and that makes up the onboarding process. Okay, so once we've got agents and they want to join our company, now what? Well, there's a checklist for that. So this whole onboarding system, which really, really starts the process of whether agents will stick at your company forever or not. And we spend an awful lot of time on that. A good part of the second part of the day is dealt with just onboarding agents and a complete system for that. And this is where brokers get bogged down. They get bogged down in being the broker. Well, if you've got really good systems in place, you can go about doing your business of recruiting other agents, leveraging the agents you get to get more. If you've got good onboarding systems for this, and then we figured there are 6 steps in this whole onboarding process. So that makes up a good bit of the first day. And then we spend the rest of day 2 on retaining agents, what we call our continuity system. In other words, we're going to retain agents by helping them make more money. Okay.
You know, I'm amazed when you talk about retaining. I'm amazed at how many brokers solely focus on the recruiting part of it, and the agents are recruiting, coming in the front door or leaving out the back door pretty much as fast as they're coming in the front door. That just seems to be such a waste of time and energy to recruit them and not have these systems in place. So you not only retain them. I mean, the whole leverage with this is getting a lot of good agents that pay you a lot of money every month, and they stay. That's the leverage. It's not just getting them and they leave, getting them and they leave. It's getting them and they stay. Now, we're also going to show you the technology. You're going to see the technology that we use. You're going to see the marketing. We're going to get into the how we actually do this. So I'm going to repeat this again. Our webinar today is about what needs to be done. The Broker Owner Conference is going to show you exactly how we do it. You're going to get the systems. You're going to walk away with a conference book with a couple hundred pages with examples of the emails, the Facebook posts, the contents of the meeting, the onboarding process. In fact, Jay Macklin, you're going to have your staff there actually describing to us how the onboarding process works as if we're a new agent that's just signed up for your brokerage.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to have my director of happiness, Casey, and then my wife, who runs kind of a lot of the operations. They'll both be there. All of us will be there, and we'll show you the whole process.
So we've got a couple questions that are coming in as well. I do welcome those. I will take your chat questions as you type them in. Here's a question, guys, from Brett, for example. Brett is asking, for this system to work, does the broker already need to be using the Craig Proctor lead generation system? Todd, do you want to take that one?
Sorry, I was on mute there, but the answer is no. That's what this is for. Is like we anticipate that the majority of broker owners that are interested in this are not involved in any way in our program or system. Now, we have many that are, but we're doing this webinar for people that aren't so that we can help you grow your real estate business. And I'm going to recommend that you come with an open mind, though. Okay, you definitely want to show up with an open mind. Majority of real estate brokers and owners, Craig, I got some statistics here. 99% of real estate broker owners are making under $250,000 a year. That's 99% of all real estate brokers. They're under $250,000 a year in gross income. Okay, so that's not so good when you only have one.
Well, listen, I totally get that. All those years I was with Remax, my team and I, we were doing $3 to $4 million in commission, and I bet you my broker owner didn't make a couple $100,000 a year. That's why they call them brokers. They're getting broker and broker. So yeah, the short answer to your question, Brett, is for the broker owner training. This is for broker owners. Most broker owners have not been through my training at all. It's specific training, not for agents, but for broker owners. Here's the next question is from Gary Degree Senior. Gary says, I'm from First Degree Realty in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I'm a single broker owner operating on my own. How can your system help me grow my business? I'm 3 years on my own, but I was a former Remax agent. Who wants to take that?
Yeah, I'll jump in there. I don't think it matters what brokerage you're with. I don't think it matters at all. But I think that's exactly what this is about. I think for me, it was, the growth that I had was just because of your system, but and because of this. But it's all about what you want. If you want to grow to 50 or to 100 or to 200, single, independent, it doesn't matter. This is just better skills. Whether you want 20 really good agents, this is great skills and great techniques and systems to hire those perfect 20 agents. So that's up to you.
Yeah, so Gary, Todd Walters is an independent, and you can see what it's done to his business. Jay Macklin is with Remax. Not for long. You've only been a broker for 4 years now?
3 years in January. Yeah, before that I was an independent.
Okay, let's just talk about that for a minute. Is that positive proof right there for everybody? The guy, Jay's only been a broker owner for 3 years, and you've got, 4 offices now?
Fourth one opening, and we just crossed the 130 mark. So not quite 150, but I'm a little behind the eight ball. But yeah, no, we're pushing it because again, the vacuum was there, and the offers, are congruent with what agents want.
Okay, look, I don't want to sound like a jerk here, but how many of you that are with us today have been a real estate broker for longer than Jay? You've been a real estate broker for over 3 years, and you don't have 4 offices and 130 agents. You see, it's not the amount of time you've been doing this that matters. It's what you do with that time. So wouldn't it be great if a guy like Jay, who's only been doing this for 36 months, can just explain to you over 2 full days exactly how he did it and show you the tools he used? These guys are going to show you. They're going to open their businesses up. They're going to say, okay, here's exactly what we do. These are the emails that we send out to recruit. Here's the social media, the posts on Facebook. Here's the direct mail we use. Here's exactly what we say during that 3-hour presentation to blow the agents away in these big group meetings. And when there's 6 or 8 or 10 that are interested in joining the brokerage, here's how we onboard them. Here's specifically what must happen when you bring them on. And here's the type of regular training that you must provide. Here's how we're going to provide the agents the things that they want more than anything else. By the way, it's the leads and the training. And some of you might think, well, isn't this going to cost a lot? No. You know what it costs a lot? Not doing this. Not doing this costs a lot. Not understanding how to recruit agents, not offering the agents what they want. That's what's expensive because you keep getting them, you lose them. We're going to show you how you can basically dominate your marketplace, just like Jay Macklin did, in 3 years or less. And you might be thinking, well, Craig Proctor, what he did is he got his 2 superstars. There's only 2 guys like this in existence, and they're both on the webinar. But I have to say, although Jay and Todd have done a wonderful job, their experience is not unique. Okay, we have got hundreds of broker owners that we could point to. If you're a little bit skeptical and you'd like to talk to some other broker owners, either with a franchise or independents that are using our program to make more money and have more time and more freedom in their lives.
They're going to be
Mark just typed in here, he's been doing this for 5 years. He's got 2 offices and 20 productive agents. So that's great, Mark. That's a great start. And look, there's nothing like getting into the business and trying to figure it out. But at some point, I liked what Gary Keller said to us. He spoke at one of my conferences, and someone asked him about coaching and training, and they said, hey, Gary, when's it a good time to get a coach or get professional training? And Gary Keller said, look, if you're giving it your best, you're trying as hard as you can, but you're just not getting the results that you want, that's when it's time to hire a coach. And Gary said the coach matters. It's not just deciding, oh, I need a coach. The coach who coaches you really, really matters. So who better to learn from than broker owners that are successfully doing the thing that you want to do? Okay, I'm going to keep monitoring the chat questions that come in, so keep it up, everybody.
Greg, I want to answer Gary's question. I know he had that question, but I want to kind of reiterate. I didn't get a really good answer on his question. His question is, as an operating my own brokerage as a single owner, how can this system help grow my business? And we talked to a lot of owner brokers that are doing that. They don't have the systems and the programs set up to be able to get them out of selling and then start recruiting. And so I think that's exactly what this system is. It's how do I stop schlepping buyers and going on listing appointments and really grow my brokerage to where I don't have to do that anymore. And I can say, it's been 1.5 years, almost 2 years exactly that I stopped selling. And that really for me was the pinnacle. I mean, that's really what the start was for me for the growth, because I had time to work on it all the time. So I didn't answer that question before, Gary, but that is really what it is. This system is designed for agents like brokers like you who have to sell, need to sell, and you don't want to sell anymore.
All right, great answer. Let's go to the onboarding process, Jay and Todd. You've got the agent's attention. The realtors have come in for your group meeting. You've blown them away with this group meeting, and what a great situation to be in when you're hiring in droves. I mean, you're hiring 6 or 8 or 10 people at a time. What happens next? Now that I attend this meeting and I'm impressed by what you offer and what I've learned, and I say, Jay, I'd like to join your brokerage. First of all, just because I want to join your brokerage doesn't mean you're going to take me.
Nope. And because we don't regulate who signs up for the conference or the webinar, the workshop, then at that point, once they decide we want to talk about joining, we then vet them and make sure that they're a good fit. And that's where we use the reality program and really dive into, sorry about that, I'm going to turn that off, really dive into, what their business looks like and is it a good fit for us? Yeah. So it's really a fun position to be in. Honestly, the hardest part about that is telling somebody no, because I feel bad, but then they look at you and they're like, you're telling me no? Like the other brokerages didn't do that. And that's a twofold issue, right? So the current agents in your brokerage are like, wow, Jay doesn't hire everybody. It's a pretty selective, exclusive group. And then the respect that they have for you not hiring them is pretty big too. So the word gets out.
Okay, so we're going to learn at the conference the questions that you ask and how you determine who's going to be a good fit. But let's say I am. You basically are interviewing me, and you're deciding whether I'm worthy of your brokerage, which doesn't, as you mentioned, usually exist. If you can fog a mirror, you're hired. So you're going to share some stories about why hiring the wrong people is not a good idea at all. But once you've determined I am the right type of realtor for your brokerage, explain to us what happens next.
Yep. So once we determine, hey, it's a good fit and we want to come on board, then we set up a time either at that. Well, usually it's not that at that moment. We usually have them come back a day later, and we have them go through an onboarding program process with Casey. She makes it very specific to that specific agent with logins and passwords and all the different systems and programs we have. But she'll take about an hour and a half to 2 hours to go through the onboarding process with that agent. So, the key thing is we try to do it at that time, but sometimes it does take a little time to create that onboarding booklet. But what we're trying to do is that buyer remorse feeling that they have when they're making that change, because, sometimes the change of, postcard or business cards or signs could be the deterrent for them to make that change because they just feel like it's this big process. We try to eliminate any buyer remorse whatsoever. We make it extremely simple for them to feel really comfortable making that decision to make the change.
So you're really doing most of the work for them to facilitate the change.
We do. We change their license. We do it all online. It's all our system here in Arizona is all online. Any listings that they want to transfer, we can do that all via email with the association. And yeah, so we take care of everything for them.
Okay, we talked to Jay. We talked about you providing the leads. So a lot of brokers listening to this right now, they might think, well, that sounds like it's expensive. How do you do that? How do you generate the high quality leads and train these agents that you've recruited how to be successful without breaking the bank account?
Yeah, so we do. We do charge the agents. First off, we charge them a very small monthly fee for that, and that's more for skin in the game. But we do split those leads. There's a 50-50 split with 15% off the top. So really it's a 42.5% cut to the agent, and then we get the 57.5%. So that's an easy way to make up the cost. And it's a phenomenal, it's just a huge revenue source for the brokerage. It's a great revenue stream. And it's extra business these agents wouldn't get otherwise. So they're loving it, and they're building their systems, and I'm helping them grow their programs and their systems, all the while meeting and closing sales that I'm providing them leads on.
Okay, by the way, some of you are typing in the chat. If you want to bring multiple people, if you want to register and speak to a live person, what number do you call? Okay, so I typed my office number into chat. It's toll-free 1-800-538-1034. That's 1-800-538-1034. And Todd, maybe you could give everybody your phone number as well, and Jay the same?
Yep. It's actually on the upper right-hand corner of the screen there, too. There's 2 phone numbers.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I didn't see that. So everybody can see at the top of the screen. The 678 exchange, that's Todd.
Yep.
And the 480 exchange is Jay. So you can call their offices, get some more information on this. It's if you really are determined to have a great year, you want to pick up the phone and at least talk to these guys. You've probably heard of the success they've had. If you're in Arizona or you're in Georgia, you definitely know who these guys are. If you're in other parts of the country, you just want to Google them and do your research, or pick up the phone and give them a call. They do a great job. Todd, what about you? How do you provide the leads and the training for the agents that you've recruited to keep them?
Yeah, that's a great question. Let me throw something up here on the screen here real fast that might make this a little clearer. So we're talking about the onboarding process, and Jay's onboarding system. It's a system. It's like a flow chart. So at the conference, Craig, we're going to give everyone who's there these flow charts. We're going to walk them through how it all works, step by step by step by step. That way, so for example, if you're a broker owner, like literally you could be on the golf course or you could be on vacation at the beach, and it's happening exactly like you want it to, whether you're there or not. So like one of the first steps in the onboarding process, Craig, is we connect the agent up with our technology team that runs these lead generation platforms that we use. Okay. And they have a conversation with the tech guys, and it's just an interview of, okay, what kind of buyer do you want? What kind of seller do you want? What part of town? What school districts? What neighborhoods? So it's a conversation. The agent just gives over the perfect profile of the prospect that they're looking for. And those words turn into keywords. And we've already got our ad set up with the technology team. So they just plug those keywords into the AdWords, and that automatically generates leads for the agent. All they do is cut their computer on or their phone on, and the leads show up there, based on their ideal type of prospect. So that little marketing system that kind of runs on autopilot, you call it, Craig, an automatic reverse prospecting system that every agent uses. So we're going to walk everyone that's at the conference through that system. But again, that's part of the flow chart to the onboarding system. Everything is the training, which incidentally is relatively easy because agents get onboarded at our broker owners' real estate businesses, and they just sign the agents up to your free training or send them to the super conference. For example.
Yeah, good point. I've been training agents now for since 1995, so it's been 21 years, believe it or not. And we will train your agents. We will train your agents for you if you don't want to do the training yourself. Okay, look, I want to thank everybody who spent the last 90 minutes with us. But do feel free, now that the webinar is over, to contact either Todd or Jay. This is going to be a smaller meeting where it's limited to 100 people. We have less than 30 seats left. If you want to bring somebody with you, yes, we can do that as well. But when these seats are gone, they're gone. We don't have another one of these events. We had a waiting list for that one, and that's why many of these seats for the March event were snapped up right away. So I'm going to recommend, if this is something that interests you, that you want to get that registration taken care of right away. Again, if you have any questions, you can call either one of the two numbers, the top of the screen there. They're circled in purple. The 678 number is Todd. The 480 exchange is Jay Macklin. So we're going to wrap it up, let everyone get back to their businesses. And again, on behalf of myself and Jay and Todd Walters, thank you very much for spending the last 90 minutes with us. All the best in your real estate business. Thank you, and that concludes today's webinar.